Christoph. As exploration of past lives is central to the Scientology belief, do people usually report having inhabited bodies that share a gender with the body they inhabit in their current life? I know from Critcal Q&A number 116 that Thetans do not have a gender, so past lives should average at a 50-50 male to female ratio. Is the reality of past life reports even close to that assumption? What happens to people who report past lives as the wrong gender, considering Scientology isn't really supportive of LGBT, and this might read as a related phenomenon? Is being closely in touch with your past lives / recalling them vividly a good thing to happen to you as a Thetan? How would an auditor react if you, a man, described your loving relationship to a man in a past life you lived as a woman? Would that raise any red flags? Or what would happen if you're a woman and after careful reflection on past lives lived as a man, you tell your auditor how being in a relationship with a woman always seemed like the most appealing thing to you, to your Thetan self, and you would consider trying it with your current female body? Okay, Christoph, about 5 for 1 here, but let's tackle this. First off, to answer your question in a broad overview sort of thing, no one cares. What happens in session stays in session. Nobody's at all concerned about the things that you tell your auditor in an auditing session or what sort of things you might be remembering or re-experiencing from a past life. That was then, this is now. That was you then, this is you now. The whole point of auditing, according to Scientology theory, is that you are doing it to improve yourself by looking back at past stresses and traumas and experiences that you've had and wrongdoings that you've committed in an effort to improve yourself now. And, there's that theoretically, that's not really a bad thing, right? The whole thing about past lives is it gets a little bit weird. But looking to your past and your actions in the past and how they might have influenced your actions now, your beliefs and ideas now, what were the causative agents in your past that were reacting on you, that made you do what you did. I mean, those are good things to look at because you can sort of sort out responsibility issues and trauma issues and things like that. And in fact, that is, from a clinical psychology point of view, that is the good thing about, like, say, Dianetics, right? It's not going back and reliving an incident over and over again. That has very limited therapeutic technique by study and survey in the world of psychology. But the idea of going back in the past and sorting out causative agents, that's a big deal. That's a good thing to do. So getting back to your questioning now on gender, if what is causing you now to act in a, let's say, a pro-LGBT way, which is in Scientology not really cool, they're not really down with homosexuality or bisexuality or any pansexuality, any of that. It's just you're straight and that's how it is, right? Well, if you're having issues with this, thoughts about it, even actions that you're taking as a result of that, and in Scientology, you go into an auditing session and you address past lives where you were, a female and you're a male now, and you were doing bad things, let's say. That's the kind of stuff Scientology would say is wrong with you, right? Is you were a female doing bad female things, or you were a male doing bad, things to other males or females or whatever, that you could really sort out the logic almost any way you wanted to. But the point is that if you were to sort that stuff out in your auditing session, what Scientology's attitude about that would be is not to blame you for things you come up in session in past lives, but to make that be the reason why you now don't have to have or shouldn't have those feelings or ideas or attitudes or whatever about that. That's the expectation that Scientology auditing is supposed to bring, right? That kind of change is what it's supposed to bring. It's supposed to make you more straight, more normal, right? Less aberrated, less perverted, less, whatever. So, and certainly less, homosexual, LGBTQ, whatever. So that's kind of the idea. Now, all of that I'm talking about here I'm talking about it from the viewpoint of being in the bubble world. I'm not saying that all of this is really a sensible way to approach. This isn't Chris Shelton's endorsement of Scientology trying to audit the gay away. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about here. But I think you guys probably know that, but I just want to throw that out there. But this is what Scientology thinks you need to do in order to audit the gay away. So it would almost be, if you came in and you wanted to cure your homosexuality or audit the gay away, this would be the kind of thing you would expect to be running in the auditing sessions, is past lives of other genders, right? The other thing about this, of course, is that I talked to different people over the years, back when I was in Santa Barbara and in the Sea Org, who talked about running things in a different gender, in a different kind of body than the one they have. Alien bodies, female, male, human, humanoid, amoeba. There's all kinds of things you look at and sort of imagine you're doing in your past lives in the auditing. So however you think, see, this would be really interesting. You asked about statistically, does it come out at 50-50? Nobody is taking any statistical information about how many people are recalling how many past lives and which gender they were in those past lives. No one in Scientology cares. So I could not even begin to answer that question specifically for you. But I can say that Scientologists have talked about, and I even talked about one time, running something in a past life in a different body or a different gender and being like, oh, that was squishy and weird, or however, I thought about it, and other people, when they told me about their experiences, how they thought about it, and how odd it was for them and noteworthy of being odd and different, right, and peculiar for them. So again, that just sort of reinforces my point that there's not really a lot of judgment on that particular thing. Where Scientology judgment comes in is in your current life and what you're doing now, in the here and now. Okay, now let's see here. As far as this last question, what would happen if you're a woman and you say, hey, I recall having relationships with women in the past as a man, and I think I'd like to have a relationship with a woman now. Okay, now if you said that, you would, of course, end up in front of a Scientology ethics officer or a Sea Org MAA, Master at Arms, same thing. And they would, if they were sensible, like what I would probably have done, of course that means it's sensible, I know. What I probably would have done, if I was an ethics person for somebody like that, is I would have probably started with, okay, I totally get what you're talking about here. Interesting. Why don't you list out for me the qualities that you're looking for in a romantic partner or life partner or marital partner, male or female, gender, not really gender specific. Just write down what are the qualities you're looking for, right? And of course, the person would then write those things down. I'd say, okay, now, taking the gender specificity, however you say that, out of this, what are these things? What are these qualities? Loving, admiring, faithful, et cetera, right? These are not gender-specific ideas. And I'd say, okay, now are these the key things you're actually looking for? And odds are I could either, the person would say yes, or I could get the person to say yes, and look at it from that perspective or frame it that way, and then go, okay, well, clearly you're lacking these things now. So let's figure out how to get these for you without you becoming a sexual pervert, right? Is pretty much how I would talk about it in Scientology. Because I'd be talking using the data from Science of Survival, L. Ron Hubbard's second book of Dianetics, right? Which talks about how, Dianetics talks about and Science of Survival talk about how any kind of LGBT activity is is a total sexual perversion. And they interpret it in Scientology that it's a perversion because bodies are made to have sex with each, male to female, and that is how you propagate the race. And homosexuals don't reproduce. And I'm not telling you these things make sense. I'm telling you what they think, okay? And what I used to think, because I used to think that. So anyway, there you go. I hope that gives you something for your questions.